Who is Ibrahim Traoré and how did he rise to power to become Burkina Faso's president and the world's youngest president at just 34 years old? Hi there, this is Can Pride and welcome to another fantastic episode of The Past Unlocked. On today's episode, we are going to be talking on Ibrahim Traoré, the world's youngest president who is currently the president of Burkina Faso. Before we dive into this video talking about how Ibrahim Traoré rose to become Burkina Faso's president through the September 2022 coup, we will have to cover his early life.
Autre chose que la manifestation violente, barbare de l'impérialisme, du néocolonialisme, de l'esclavage qu'on tend à nous imposer aujourd'hui, ce que nous avons qualifié terrorisme. C'est dans ce sens que lorsque nous prenons par exemple le volet de l'orpaillage, votre thème en dit long sur l'employabilité des jeunes en milieu rural.
Ibrahim Traoré was born on the 14th of March 1988 and he was born in Kera, in the western part of Burkina Faso. He attended a primary school in Kondogyo. Sorry if I'm getting the name wrong, I'm not from Burkina Faso, I'm not a Burkinabe. When he was done with primary school, he attended a high school in Bobo Doualasso, which is the largest city in Burkina Faso. And during his time in high school, he was known to be very quiet, a little shy, and very talented. And after he was done with high school, he then got admission into the university in 2006 to study science and geology. And in 2009, he got a bachelor's degree in science and geology with honors. During his time in the university studying science and geology, he was known to be a little bit more confident as compared to when he was in high school. He gained a little bit of confidence. He would always stand up for his classmates, people who were bullying some of his course-mates, he would stand up for them. And yes, he developed a leadership spirit from the university. And in that same year, in 2009, few months after getting his bachelor's degree in science and geology, he joined the Burkina Faso Armed Force and received military training abroad in countries like France and Morocco.
Et aujourd'hui, beaucoup de peuples sont en train de se battre pour leur survie, pour leur souveraineté, pour vivre en paix.
After his training, he was then deployed to the field, and in 2014, after few years serving as a military soldier, he was then promoted to a lieutenant. Ibrahim Traoré then joined the UN peacekeeping force involved in the Mali war, and he was then deployed to Mali for peacekeeping. And in 2018, he was cited as one of the UN peacekeeping soldiers who showed courage during the major rebel attacks in Mali. He later on then returned to Burkina Faso to fight against the jihadist insurgents, which were causing insecurities in his homeland Burkina Faso. And in 2020, he was then promoted to a captain.
Regardez dans les discours, même le président français, toujours dans ses discours, les jeunes africains sont influencés par la Russie. Il est dit, les médias occidentaux, vous les écoutez souvent, ils ne passent leur temps qu'à mentir. Et regardez.
Ibrahim Traoré played a very big role in the January 24th, 2022 coup that led to Paul-Henri Damiba to become the president of Burkina Faso. And after Paul-Henri Damiba became president of Burkina Faso, he created the MPSR. And he then made the MPSR the ruling body. So Burkina Faso transitioned from civilian rule to military rule, and the military body that was in charge of governing the country was MPSR. And after the MPSR was created, Ibrahim Traoré was made the second in command in the MPSR. At the time of Damiba's takeover of the country, there were still jihadist insurgents causing insecurity in the country. And one of Damiba's main reasons for taking over, for orchestrating the coup that led to him to become president in January 24, 2022 was, he said the civilian government was unable to handle the insecurity, the jihadist insurgents in the country. So that was one of the main reasons why he took over. So at the time he took over power, many people were expecting a change in the jihadist insurgents. Mind you, at the time he took over 40% of Burkina Faso was being terrorized or was claimed by the jihadist insurgents. So at the time he took over, many people, civilians, were expecting he was going to bring a big change with them. He was going to provide them more security and safety. But Damiba didn't really accomplish what he promised he was going to accomplish, which then led to the September 2022 coup.
On ne peut pas les transformer. Nous avons lancé cela et je vous invite à souscrire massivement parce que nous allons créer nos entreprises ici sur place et développer. Certes, des esprits impérialistes pourront essayer de vous détourner de l'objectif, mais écoutez, visez loin, visez très loin, réfléchissez et voyez.
On September 2022, Ibrahim Traoré took over the MPSR ruling body. Mind you, like I said earlier on in the video, the MPSR was created as a ruling body because the country had transitioned after the Damiba's coup. The country had transitioned from civilian rule to military rule. So Ibrahim Traoré's first aim was to take over the MPSR. After taking over the MPSR, he knew it was easier for him to take over the country. So as Ibrahim Traoré walked around convincing the other members of the other military commanders and generals in the MPSR ruling body, most of them saw a young Thomas Sankara in him. Mind you, Thomas Sankara was Burkina Faso's president from 1983. He rose to power through a coup in 1983, and he was assassinated by his best friend or ally in 1987, who was Blaise Compaoré, who later ruled the country for about 2 decades, and he stepped down in 2014 after crisis or after the uprising that was in Burkina Faso, which led him to step down. And in 2022, obviously, he was arrested and sentenced for the assassination of Thomas Sankara. So many of the military commanders saw a young Thomas Sankara in him, which, because he spoke like Thomas Sankara, even currently people still see him as a young Thomas Sankara. He speaks, he moves like Thomas Sankara, he behaves like Thomas Sankara. So with all this, he then gave him the upper hand, he then gave him the upper hand, he then gave him the upper hand to whatsoever he was telling the military commanders. So with that, he was able to convince all military commanders and generals in the MPSR party to work with him. And after he took over the MPSR party, he then led the September 2022 coup that led to him becoming president of Burkina Faso and Damiba stepping down. After Ibrahim Traoré took over power as Burkina Faso's president through the September 2022 coup, at just 34 years old, he then went on live television and he said the reason why he orchestrated the coup was because of the insecurities that were going on in the country, and he also criticized Blaise Damiba for being unable to handle the insecurities in the country. So that was one of the reason why according to him, that was his reason for taking over the country. And after he took over power, he made sure he claimed the territory that was under the control of the jihadist insurgents. Mind you, I said earlier in the videos that over 40% of Burkina Faso was under the jihadist insurgents. So Ibrahim Traoré's main aim, before even trying to look at the economy, trying to create jobs, his first aim was for his citizens, for the citizens of Burkina Faso to be safe. So he's first of all secured the territory that was under the jihadist insurgents, and after that he then went to building infrastructures, developing the country, increasing employment rate. And one major thing he also did was he chased away the France military officials that were in Burkina Faso. Mind you, during the jihadist insurgencies, the French government sent military commanders or soldiers to come and help Burkina Faso, the Burkinabe people fight against the insurgents. But Ibrahim Traoré said there was no need for help, that he didn't really need help that way. So he chased away the French soldiers and took control and made sure he solved the insurgencies by himself. He didn't want the glory to go to anybody. He didn't want France to come tomorrow and say he helped them solve the insurgencies or the insecurities in their country. And after distancing himself from France, he then started to create new allies with Russia. We don't really know his reasons for creating allies with Russia as of now. Maybe we have never started seeing the results, to be precise. Maybe in the next 10-20 years we'll start seeing the results why he's creating allies with Russia. but as for now, we haven't seen any tangible results. But he has been attending Russian meetings. He has been having meetings with Russia's President Putin for the past few months.
Parce que cette lutte que nous avons aujourd'hui contre le terrorisme ne se fait pas uniquement par les armes, mais également par le développement. Tant que la jeunesse n'aura pas d'emploi, elle sera toujours tentée d'aller vers là où c'est facile d'avoir de l'argent. Et c'est ça aussi qu'il faut combattre.
Thank you very much for watching this amazing video. Please, if there's anything I missed out, please don't forget to tell me in the comment section what I missed out in this episode. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on your post notification to get notified anytime I post a new video.